Are you ready?
The C.J. Howard Show. Now let's go to C.J. Howard. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the C.J. Howard Show. We're with you live back here on this Sunday evening, as we are live on the Facebook, live on YouTube, live on the D&D Sports Network, and also we are live on my new Facebook page, the C.J. Howard Show Facebook page. You can find us over there. Also, we want to hear from you. We got a phone number up and running, 1-346-314-0906. Hopefully, we'll get to talk to you or anybody that wants to call. We got a tremendous guest list, got an awesome co-host with me tonight. We're going to start with our guest list. Here in about 10 minutes, we'll have Adam Webb with us from Kentucky Sports Talk. There's a lot going on with him and Tim and them and the guys, and we're going to get up to him and see what he thinks about the Cats lately and what their new adventures have been. We'll talk to Travis Smith, the Owsley County Lady Owls basketball coach, as he gets ready for district tournament action tomorrow night. Also, we're going to be talking with him about the passing of Bobby Bowling and what he meant to Owsley County and the Mountains. Anthony Hibbard's going to join us at 9 o'clock, the boys basketball coach at OBI. Saw his team play Friday night, very athletic team, got some athletic players. Of course, they'll play Redbird tomorrow night in the opening round of the district. We'll talk more about that as we go along. John's going to join us at 9:30. We've got a lot to talk with John about as the season's ended. We're going to get some of his thoughts on some players of the year, comeback players of the year, coaches of the year. Some of the coaches and players have already been listed. KBA brought theirs out yesterday. We'll talk about that too. And also a lot of things. We got a lot on the agenda. But my co-host tonight, former WYMT sports reporter, and now the main man doing a little golfing, knocking the hole a little bit there. Mr. Tommy Poole with me tonight. Tommy, I'm so glad you're with me. I'm so glad you're feeling better. I know you've been a little under the weather. I'm glad you're feeling better. It's great to have you with us.
Yeah, thank you, CJ. Got bit with COVID there right after Christmas and was not fun. So, it took a little while, but we're back. And of course, with everything else, busy time to start the year with work and all that stuff, kind of getting caught back up after the holidays. So it's been a busy time. I always feel bad when you reach out and I can't do anything. So I'm glad that I was able to make it and glad that you offered the invite to me as well.
Glad to have you on the show. Love you having you on the show. You're a very knowledgeable person. A lot of topics we got to discuss on the show. We get to, you get to this time of the year, Tommy, where district plays already started in a lot of districts. Today, in fact, let's go ahead and give everybody an update in the 14th region. We had 3 games today. Already been played in the 14th region, boys and girls. Knox County Central coming up with a 71-28 win over Concordia earlier today. Then Letcher Central right behind them got a 66-32 win over JBS, the Lady Crusaders. And then Knox County finally got that win over Letcher Central. They had played Letcher Central twice during the regular season. Had 2 big leads in both games, lost both leads. Letcher went away to pull to get the victory. Knott was able to hold on today. They hit some free throws down the stretch to get the 61-55 victory over Letcher. So now the 53rd district is set for their championship games on Tuesday night, 7 o'clock in the 53rd district. It will be Knox County Central and Letcher Central. When it gets to them 2 and the girls, Tommy, that is a knockdown, drag out, and going to be a brutal game. And then on Thursday night, it will be the boys championship game. The Knox County Central Patriots and the Concordia Lions. That will also be another knockdown, drag out. So district plays already up and running. What's your thoughts about early district play, Tommy? Because I know sometimes teams like to go ahead and get started, but they've already got it going.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think there's advantages and disadvantages to it as well. It's one of those things that the last few years, and again with COVID in there, there were times where they were late. It was right up against the button. You were cramming them all in right at the end and then going up to Lexington if you were able to win. So, that one's fine because you've been playing. So, you just keep it going. But then also if you do have early games like this, it's also nice too, where you kind of get it done and you have a little time to relax, to take a deep breath and kind of work. Of course, you can't really prepare for your opponent much yet because the other regions are still kind of sorting things out. But the nice thing too is you already have the region draw. So, I mean, you do kind of know a little bit about where you're going or what you're doing too. So, both advantages and disadvantages to me and in the media, and we can talk to John about it. I'm sure he'll mention something about it later. For us, it's nice because you don't have all of the regions all together, so you're able to kind of focus in more, and it'll probably make his job a whole lot easier, I'm sure.
Yeah, I think Courtney had to work today, so she probably went and got footage of the 3 games there at Knox County Central High School. The 54th, the 14th region girls draw Wednesday. They're going to be drawing for the region on Wednesday when a couple of districts will not be done until Wednesday night and Thursday. So everybody will know their opponent, but they won't know who the champion and the runner-up is until they play their game that day. We also need to remind everybody, too, that one advantage of playing early weather's not going to be a problem this week because there's a lot of rain. Now, flooding could be an issue, but I really doubt it. But a lot of teams are going to be done by Friday. I'm hearing that all regions, 14th, 15th, and 13th, are going to draw on Saturday. Redbird is the host in the 13th. They'll draw at the Corbin Arena. Breathitt County and Perry Central are the girls and boys host in the 14th. They're going to draw for the 14th on Wednesday for the girls. The boys will draw Saturday at 10 a.m. in Breathitt County for the boys. And then in the 15th region, they'll also draw Saturday. I think Belfry is the host, but tournament, of course, at the Appalachian Wireless Arena in Pikeville. So there's where the draw. So we've got a lot. Of course, I'm going to be having my show on Saturday night instead of Sunday due to the girls playing on Sunday. They're all 4 first round games, and the 14 girls are being played on Sunday. So I'm having my show on Saturday night. We'll talk more about that later as we go along. Also, on the agenda, we need to take just a few moments before we get Adam on here, which we will just a few minutes. The passing of Bobby Boland. Bobby's been on the show many times. He's was a great gentleman, great person, he was a great coach. He was just a great human, and he lost his battle with cancer this past Monday. And Tommy, what's your thoughts about that? Because Bobby was a great guy, and I respect him. When we last had him on here, he was hoping for some really good news when he was going down to Houston, and as the weeks progressed, unfortunately he got a little sicker, and unfortunately we lost him on Monday, and that's a devastating blow to the Mountains.
Yeah, it definitely is. Obviously, sad news anytime you're dealing with any form of cancer and things like that. I think every person, unfortunately, has been around it in some shape or some form, whether it's a really close relative or a close friend or, just somebody that unfortunately we've all dealt with that. So that's never a fun case, but, again, like you mentioned, I can't say it any better. I mean, just the impact that he had on not only the Mountains, but also here on, just the basketball team there in Owsley County or where he was at, and just the impact that he had on so many people, and just definitely be missed. And like you said, just a great guy. So
he made you feel welcome when you come to Owsley.
Absolutely.
You would come when you come to the doors. He always welcomed you with welcome arms. I go back to last year in the All-A when they hosted all those games in one day. Him sick, him not doing well, him struggling to get through the day, but he did so well and he put on a good front. He did put on a good face, and we're not going to see him no more. And I was heartbroken over that on Monday. Me and Bobby's become good friends. And my brother Dan, of course, really great friends with Bobby. And the whole Mountains. We've had some tough losses this year, Coach Mackey,
Yes.
and with Bobby. We're losing too many of our great people, Tommy, and we've got to come to. I don't like this. I'm not liking this at all.
Well, again, and I mean, losing anybody in our community is always tough, but like you said, when you lose somebody that touches so many people and does things like that, like, that tournament, for example, that you were just talking about, he wasn't doing that for him. he was doing that for those kids, and he was doing that for the kids of his community. And again, we've talked so much, especially during the pandemic, about how much sports mean to these high school kids here in our area, and what sports kind of do for the mountains and just high school kids anywhere, high school athletes anywhere. So what he would do for those kids and the impact that he had on them, definitely he'll be missed for sure.
I'll be interested to hear Travis's comments when we talk to him at 8:30 about that. I know it's been a hard week for the Owsley County community, and not just the Owsley County community. He comes from Somerset, where he had lived there for a long time. He coached basketball at Somerset. He's been around. He coached in Hazard. He coached in some other places. Teached at some other places. So as the show progresses through, we'll have some memories of him, and hopefully Travis will have some memories. If you got a memory of Bobby Bowen, you want to let us know. Leave it in the comment box, or give us a call. Give us a phone call. We got the phone number right here: 3134631409006. Give us a phone call. We'd like to hear from you, or we want to see your comments in the box on that, please. We also got one new head football. We got two football pieces of news, Tommy. Pineville has found their man. Former Lynn Camp head coach Alan Harris will take over the reins of the Mountain Lions after Jason Chappell left to go to be North Laurel's new head football coach. And we got a phone call. Tommy, let's go ahead and see if we can't get this phone call here. See who we got here. Go ahead, caller. You're on the CJ Harris Show. Hello. Go ahead. Okay, we lost him. Hopefully he'll call back. Well, I think that was Ryan who was trying to call us, and we'll hopefully get to speak with him. We're going to have Adam here anytime, hopefully. If he didn't forget, I know Adam's been a busy man doing a lot of things, Wildcat Sports Talk, and their new adventure they've been in. A newspaper, I think, has bought them, and they're working for them now, so they're doing a lot more. They're going to be doing a lot more high school stuff, actually. They actually did a game the other night. I watched a little bit of it. It was a pretty good job they did on that. But I was talking about football. Alan Harris, the new head football coach at Pineville. Also, the KHSAA had their monthly meeting, and we did find out that they did vote back the old playoff format, which the district championship will be played during the regular season, and the playoffs will be against the opposite opponent of the opposite district. Tommy, give me your thoughts on that, because I know you got to be tickled to death about that, because that was the one thing that everybody wanted to see. Get rid of that RPI and get back into the regular way.
Yeah, no, I think that's one of those perfect examples of it looked great on paper. We gave it the old college try, as everybody would say, and we tried to run with it. But, yeah, I mean, it was just riddled with too much. I think it caused more harm than the good that everybody had hoped for. Like I said, I mean, on paper it looked cool, but, then you just ran into the issues of just everything, how it was kind of calculated. Nobody really understood, and that didn't help. But then also, too, I mean, once you kind of got out of the district area and the RPI did come into play there in the last few weeks of the playoff season, you were traveling 4 or 5 hours. I mean, in some of these smaller schools too, like,
and you was playing the same team, and you played 2 weeks ago. I mean,
yeah. Well, I mean, that had kind of always happened. No, because I guess they would just do cross 4 districts, right?
Yeah,
okay,
yeah. So an example would be if you use let's use the Hazard district, for example. Pikeville would have been your champion. Pikeville this year would have played Lynn Camp in the opening round. Right. Hazard would have been your runner-up, and they would have hosted the third place team on there was Harlan, I believe. So Harlan would have had to travel to Hazard. Then Winsburg was the champion. They would have played Sayre, which would have been a great first-round game. They'd already actually, if you go back, they'd already played. So that would have been a rematch, and then Pineville would have hosted the 4, which was Sayre would have went to Pineville. Phelps would have went to Pikeville, but still could have got a rematch there if there'd been an upset. But I like it that way because I'm not a man. I'm a creature of change. I don't like change. I want to see it be where it needs to be. That RPI, nobody had a clue what it was about.
Yeah.
I mean, nobody knew when they was playing for what games counted, what it meant. Now it's going to get back to what it really means, and it means a lot to these kids. So I'm so glad to see that.
I mean, there are two things there. Like one, the playing of the district opponents and kind of repeating those matchups. I really don't have that big of an issue with. I get it, like like you said, CJ, we've done it for one way so long. Why change it? I get that completely. And there's a lot of things that I kind of feel the same way about with that too. But in that aspect, it's all right because then you have district champions, just like basketball. I mean, it's exactly what we do in basketball in that way, where you're kind of playing there through that. But then the biggest part there was once the RPI did kick in, in those last few weeks, you had to drive 6 hours away or something like that to go play a game. And that kind of got ridiculous. And it was very costly for some schools too. The other part of that as well, I think we ran into that issue too. I don't think the pandemic really helped out the case for the RPI, because one thing we really ran into last year more so, and again, we're never going to know intentions of anything, but there were a few contests that could have really impacted the RPI that just so happened to get canceled. And then, oh, look at, here's another opponent that's been scheduled already. And, some coaches were left scratching their heads and stuff like that. So obviously safety, number one priority. But, I think that just kind of shows that when you have everything there that kind of dictates so much stuff, and then you're also trying to navigate through a global pandemic as well. It's, it's easier to just do something that's set and doesn't have all those moving parts, because the more intricate moving parts that there are, the more room there is for things to go wrong or just different scenarios there that can have a negative impact.
Yeah, no question about it. I got you talk about some of the big time matchups. We were excited about them, and then suddenly, they're not going to happen. And then at the last moment, they'd be going looking for a game. So I mean, yeah, that. But speaking of the pandemic, we were. The Delta and the Oregon, or I can't say that other one, they come through here pretty strong. But now lately, the numbers have been going back down. Everything's been going back down. That's good news on that front. And I'll tell you something else I've noticed this year in basketball. We've had very few cancellations for COVID. Early in the season, we probably had a few more than what we thought. But in the past month, it's been weather. It's been the problem. That's canceled games, not COVID. It's been the weather, and I think we're starting to see the trend where people are starting to feel more comfortable. Some schools are starting to feel comfortable about the mask mandate in their schools, but I think COVID's starting to wind down some. I know I'm not an idiot. I know COVID's going to be around forever, but it may get to a point to where the CDC will say, "Okay, we're going to now catalyze COVID as just like the flu." And then it's going to be right in there with that. So, I mean.
No, I think that's, just looking at the science or looking at history and stuff, I think that's kind of what everything was kind of pointing to, is just kind of getting over that bell curve and kind of coming down on the inside. And I think something that really helped too is the Omicron variant was a little bit more milder. It was more transmissible. And that's what Paige and I ended up getting. But, and again, still kicked our butts, but it could have been worse. And that's something that we saw, and unfortunately that you saw with somebody that if you knew of somebody who got it there in the first year of the pandemic, it was some pretty scary times. But yeah, and it, like you said, it's good to see not many cancellations here, and teams able to navigate through all of this stuff too, considering that we're in the winter season where everybody is kind of indoors. And that was kind of one of the biggest fears at the beginning of all this stuff is, okay, we've got football, we can all be outside. If you're outside, you didn't really have to wear masks. Inside, if you had more than 10 people, you had to wear masks. Of course, that hurt basketball. So, just stuff like that. So to not only see kind of numbers kind of starting to get a little bit better and going down a little bit, it's also cool to see, us, it's nice to be able to do this too in the indoor season as well.
They've also mentioned at the KHSAA meeting on Wednesday that the state tournament will have no restrictions. No restrictions. The only thing that's going to be the same as it's been last year is tickets. You'll have to buy them, and they're going to be on your phone. They're not no paper tickets. So that's the only thing they're going to keep as far as they used to the pandemic. They're not going to. They're going to ask you to wear a mask, but if you don't want, you don't have to. No restrictions. It's going to be full house. So KHSAA is looking to rebound big time for their state tournaments. If the girls first this year, the boys second, I think it's going to be a big rebound too, because more people I think are going to come back because they want to see how it's going to look. Because if you look at some of the teams right now, we're going to have some really good games at the girls and boys Sweet 16. That's one thing I failed to get in my notes, and I'll do more of that next week. The state tournament draws already been out. We know who everybody's playing now. It's just a matter of getting there without getting upset or your team getting eliminated because of COVID or anything like that. So we'll have to see where it goes. Adam has not joined us yet. Might have got busy. That happens sometimes. Travis will join us here in about 9 minutes. I know a lot going on right now. Let's talk a little bit about this season, Tommy. I don't know if you kept up much with it or not. The girls, I feel like the girls, we'll go girls first, then boys. I feel like the girls, you've got 2 or 3 dominant teams in the 13th and 15th, and you got a whole bunch of teams in the 14th that can win it. But, I tell you what, the Pikeville girls and the North Laurel girls, I wish there was some way they could have played. I would have loved to see that game because I think they're the 2 best basketball teams in the mountains on the girls' side.
Yeah, what were those 2 teams again? I'm sorry, you cut out on my end real quick.
That was Pikeville. That was Pikeville and North Laurel. But
North Laurel.
Yeah. Okay. Joining us, I know he's a busy man, and we're going to use a little bit of his time here, as I'm glad to have him on the show. Adam Webb from Wildcat Sports Talk. I know he's been a busy man. They've been a brand new adventure coming their way. I'm going to let him talk about that, and we're going to talk about UK as well. Adam, great to have you on the show.
Hey, man, thanks. Glad to be here.
Always glad to have you on the show. We had Tim on the show a couple weeks ago. Tim talking about he's going to be getting back and doing some high school stuff here in a little bit. You guys also done a game the other night. I saw you guys done Link Camp in Corbin. Watched a little bit of that and was very impressed with you guys. You've done a very fine job.
Hey, man, I appreciate it. We don't do that often, but we try to get in there and do that. We love high school sports at its core, and I actually called it Ted. I see Ted on there already. Listen, I actually called it the other night, man, and I said that I think Lynn Camp is going to punch their ticket to the 13th region tournament this year.
Yeah, they got a heck. Them and Barville's going to be a nice game. I think Barville beat them the first time, 5 or 6 points, but I think Lynn Camp's playing well. I got a chance to watch them play up at Middlesboro this week, and I was impressed with tell you what, the Allen kid is unbelievable in the paint. He can score in the 2 guards that Lynn Camp's got can score too anywhere around the paint or outside. So Lynn Camp's got a nice team. Coach Clark, very impressed with his bunch.
Yeah.
Adam, you guys have been extremely busy. I know you guys just joined a new adventure together, you and Tim. We'll let you talk a little bit about that. Tell everybody about what's new at Wildcat Sports Talk and what's going on.
Well, Wildcat Sports Talk is now fallen under the Kentucky Daily, which is a statewide publication, and essentially we, all of our shows are presented by them. And so moving forward, that just means more great content for our listeners out there. And of course, it's going to allow us to get a little closer into the program. As you know, we know a lot of players, we know a lot of guys, and that's just something that we've been able to kind of build upon. But now we're going to be able to take it to the next level, which to me, that's what it's all about.
Yeah. You guys do a phenomenal job. If you don't get a chance to, if you're not a follower of Wildcat Sports Talk on Facebook, you need to be. It is a phenomenal watch. You and Tim do a great job. You have done. What are your? You had a young man helping you named Q, who's now with Les Dixon. I thought you did a good job with him, Adam, and now he's off doing. He had moved on to another adventure. But talk a little bit about Q. I seem to think that he's picking up he's doing a nice job over there helping Les.
Well, yeah, Q does a good job. He's a good kid. He definitely has really made his mark in terms of high school coverage, and he's done a great job with that. I got a lot of respect for Q.
Yeah, I do too. He's doing a fine job. Him and Steve Black and Les, they do a fine job over on the 13th media page. As I know they're getting ready for the 13th region tournament. I know you and Tim are going to be returning back to the arena for that, I understand. I'm excited about the 13th region. It's going to be a phenomenal tournament. What's your thoughts about the 13th this year, Adam? I know you've gotten a chance to watch a little bit because you mostly – I saw you a lot during football. You've done Middlesboro football. And by the way, you've done a tremendous job, and I hope they bring you back for a second season. But
I hope they do too. I loved it.
It was just good. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I love watching you do your thing. But to talk about the 13th a little bit, tell us what you're thinking as we get ready for the tournament. Close to it.
Well, I've actually, honestly, this year, I'm glad you asked this question because I actually have an opinion. Like, I know that this year it's wide open. And here's the other thing about it too. A lot of people are saying Knox Central, North Laurel. Well, I've actually seen several games this year because I actually called a game with John North for WYMT, and that was Harlan and Harlan City. So I called that game. And by the way, those two teams are fantastic. And I'll tell you, one of those two teams is the dark horse of the 13th region. And I don't know which one it's going to be because they're both great teams. They're both great teams. They both can play well.
Well, one of them may not make it. I mean,
and that's the shame.
Yeah. But you got to give Bell County credit, though. Bell County, Harlan County, Bell, and Harlan. There's not a difference in the three teams. The Bell-Harlan game, though, the one big advantage I think in the Harlan County-Bell County game coming up here in a couple of days is going to be home court because it's at Bell. At Bell at home, that's going to be a raucous crowd. Harlan County's going to have to go in there and find a way to win that game. And I know that they're seasoned enough to know to go try to win that game. But I also know Coach Sizemore, his team has been playing really well all year. I thought he was coach of the year in the 13th region. I thought he did a really phenomenal job.
Yeah, you mentioned Middlesboro. They're great. Of course, Bell County is good. And you look at Knox Central and Barberville and Lynn Camp, and that sort of that region there, they're really good. Though I think any one of those three teams will probably be in the 13th. I think it's really it's up for grabs between Barberville, Knox Central, and of course, Lynn Camp. And I actually think Lynn Camp's going to get the edge and beat Barberville, but we'll just have to wait and see on that. And then I watched Corbin play the other night, and I can tell you, Corbin's got some great players. Llewellyn, he's very good. That Elam, he's actually a Louisville baseball commit. A lot of people don't know that, but he's actually committed for Louisville baseball. And, he's really good with from beyond the perimeter, and he's just a good player overall. And you've got a lot of great players in this 13th region. I mean, you got guys, we talk about your big name guys like Reed Shepard and Javante Turner and Gavin Chadwell. But like I said, Lynn Camp, they've got Gavin Allen. Obviously, we know Micah Engel. The Sparks kid. The Sparks kid is really good, and people, he's not being talked about a whole lot, but he's really good. And so, as a whole, there's a lot of good teams. I mean, South Laurel is hit or miss sometimes, but I think a lot of these teams have a shot to get to that 13th region tournament, but really, most people are correct in saying that it goes through North Laurel and Knox Central. I've always said, and I hate the draw. CJ. I hate the draw. I hate it. I wish they'd get rid of it. But, because last year we kind of had it handed to us on a silver platter. Does it get any better than North Laurel and Knox Central in the championship game? It just doesn't. And I don't know that that's going to happen again. But the unfortunate part about that is you don't always get the best games with this scenario. So just kind of got to wait and see. But I just say, of all the teams that I mentioned, they all have a shot to go deep. They're all good. They're all well coached. Petrosky's one of the best coaches in the region, and you got to hand it to him. Man, I mean, the other night I just watched him. He coached his rear end off, and then of course. Just across the board. These are really well-coached teams. And the 13th region, like I said, it is absolutely wide open.
Yeah, anybody can win it on both sides, the boys or the girls. It's going to be a phenomenal week of basketball at the arena. It always is, and we'll be right there. I'll be there watching. You'll be there giving them play-by-play and week by week. A couple other things that I'm going to let see if Tommy's got any questions, and we'll get you out of here. Good win yesterday for the Cats. I thought it was a bounce-back win after the effort they gave at Tennessee, but you had to guess, you had to figure that when they Tennessee was waiting on them. And I thought yesterday, I thought Tennessee took their eye off the ball because Arkansas, and I'm going to tell you right now, Arkansas will win the SEC if people don't watch it because they're the most underrated team in the SEC. I don't know if they're the top 25 yet or not. They still hadn't been. They need to be in the top 25. But tell me about the win yesterday, and tell me what you're thinking of the next two games because they got LSU at home, then a trip to Arkansas to play the Razorbacks.
Well, when we found out yesterday, pretty close to the tip-off that Severe Wheeler and Tai Washington were going to be out for that ball game, I thought I've looked at Tim and I said, Tim, this is going to be a bad day. I mean, this is going to be a real bad day. We have a hard time. Look, anytime you're down your 1 and 2 guard, you're probably going to have problems scoring. And we found early on, Alabama came out, shot 11 threes early on, found ourselves down like 15 points with 5 minutes left to go. Yeah, with like 5 minutes left to go, we're down 15. And then Calipari, and you know what? I've been a very big critic of Calipari all year long, but I'm going to tell you something. Mm-hmm. This might be his best coaching job he's ever done at the University of Kentucky because he's had to adjust at about every facet of this year. You look at guys, first of all, he took Kellen Grady, and he's like, you know what? He's like, I'm going to put Kellen Grady and have him run the point and basically be like Steph Curry. And he was creating his shot. He was doing everything that we all thought he could do. And if that was his coming out party, folks, this team is dangerous come March. They're a very well they're just a solid unit. And being down 15, normal Calipari teams that are young and inexperienced are probably going to fold over and lay over and just let it happen. But this team held their composure. They were able to come out and they were able to get a solid win against a top 25 program when they were on the ropes. And those are the type of wins that you need to go far in March. But looking at that Tennessee game, they only put up 48 points after scoring 1 million on Kentucky. Here's the thing. Tennessee will never shoot again like they did against Kentucky. They were mad because we beat them by 30. That a lot of that plays into it. But then Arkansas is good, but I think over the next couple of games, one of the things that we're going to have to see, number one, are we going to get at least Severe Wheeler back? Because I think you need at least Severe to beat Arkansas, and we might not have them back. But even if we don't, I think we're going to be all right. I mean, I think that that they have figured out a rotation with Kellen Grady, and I think they're going to be just fine. But I mean, you look at these games coming up. I think we got LSU coming up this week, and then of course Arkansas on Saturday. Yep. LSU is at home, and I listen. I don't think LSU is going to play as good as they did at home, and I think we're going to be able to beat them. But I just think the Arkansas game is the game that everybody needs to mark off because that's going to be a game that's going to determine a lot in the SEC. Because does that mean that Kentucky moves to that 3 seed in the SEC tournament versus a 2? So there's a lot of things that can happen. But I like where my team stands, and I'll just tell you, I love my team. They're going to be all right. They're going to be fine.
Yeah,
Tommy,
I
do you have
just
any
want to add
questions
that.
for Adam before we let him get out of here?
I've got one real quick. We'll get back to high school basketball, but just piggybacking off of UK there, you've always got to throw out those Tennessee games, wherever they're playing, because it's always the home team. I mean, we've seen that trend for the last 4 or 5 years. Starting all the way when Tennessee came into Rupp as the number 1 seed. Kentucky beat them by 15, 20 points there. I think it was
Right.
2018. And then it was the same thing, just flipped when they went down to Knoxville that same season. UK was number 1, and then they got beat by 15, 20 there. And then every year in between, it doesn't matter what teams are doing. The better team doesn't always ever win in those matchups just because of the rivalry game. And again, like you said, Tennessee's never going to shoot like that. Kentucky's probably never going to shoot like they did when they beat Tennessee there in Rob. So I mean, it's just one of those things. But I wouldn't put too much stock in that stuff. Last thing too about Calipari, I agree. Seeing him adjust and stuff like that has been awesome, because some of the things that he has been adapting to have been things that he hasn't in the last few years that have made critics like yourself, kind of get more vocal too. So it was good to kind of see him make those adjustments, lean in more on ball players and give them a little bit more rope to see what they can do, because the last 4 or 5 years, he kind of hasn't, and it's ran some people off, like Johnny Uzang and guys of that caliber. So, but no, I agree. I mean, we say this every year too. I think college basketball, it seems like it's wide open this year. I think we've said that, the last 3 to 5 years. It seems like it just keeps getting more and more wide open. So, but no, I agree. I think Kentucky is in a really good spot. Question for you real quick, going back to high school basketball. I know you talked a lot about the 13th region there and who you kind of like. We've got the Sweet 16 tournament draws already. 13th is drawn the 15th. Have you been able to look at the 15th at all, especially now knowing that, the 13th representative is going to be playing them? If so, who do you kind of like out of the 15th, and how do you think that they pair up with some of the top dogs there in the 13th region?
To be honest with you, I've not seen one 15th region game, so don't shoot me for that. All right, I've not watched one.
No, I
But I will say this. I mean, is it pretty much the usual players, right? I mean, is that
Pikeville, Lawrence County, Martin County? Those are your teams right now. Yeah.
Yeah. I like that draw. I actually love that draw. I'm not going to lie. I actually love that draw, because here's the thing. I have said for years that I hate when the 13th region draws a Northern Kentucky region, or that Louisville region, and I love it that there's the 2 Eastern Kentucky schools are going to be playing each other. So I love it. I think that's a great draw, and I didn't know that until just now. So that's awesome. That's fantastic. I wanted to add in this as well, going back to Tennessee. Tennessee, we've been traditionally every good Kentucky team. I mean, a lot of them lose at Tennessee, and I remember the day that Joe Bial passed away, right? And we beat Tennessee by 30 this year. We called up our buddy Roger Harden, who was his floor general, and I can't say what he said on our program because it's just not safe for any kind of radio, but I can tell you that, Joe B. Hall knew then that it was hard to win at Tennessee. Coming from Roger Harden, it's just hard to win down there. But I also want to give a shout out to the girls in the 13th region as well, because there's a lot of great teams in there as well. I didn't mention them a whole lot, but I'll just say Haley Valentine is now North Laurel's all-time leading scorer, which, by the way, that is my alma mater, so I love to hear that. And she's really good. We watched her a lot last year, and I'm looking forward to seeing that happen again. I think it probably runs through North Laurel and South Laurel again as far as the girls' basketball is concerned. But that said, there are some other teams that would like a word, put it that way. So I think and then the other night, I was going to say the other night, I went to that Harlan County, Harlan City game, and of course they honored Wawa Jones and named the court after him, which was very, very cool. So Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
But it was awesome.
Yeah. Adam, you're just thrilled to have on the show. Thank you very much for being a part of it. Thank you. Congratulations on your guys' new adventure. I hope it works out big time for you. I know anytime I need you on the show, you can come on and give us a insight on Kentucky or high school sports or whatever we need. And thank you so much. And I will see you a week from Monday at the arena for the upcoming 13th region tournament.
Yes, and that's my birthday, CJ. So just remember that.
We'll remember your birthday. Thank you a lot,
right.
Adam.
Take
Adam Webb, thank you very much. Adam Webb with the Kentucky Sports Talk. They do a fine job. If you have not seen them, you need to go over and like their Facebook page. They do tremendous work over there. They do a good job covering the Cats. With me now, another good friend of mine, a really great guy in the not just in the 14th region, but in the mountains. Travis Smith with me from the Owsley County Lady Owls. Travis, it's great to have you with us. I know it's been some hard times for you guys this week. It's been a lot of sadness, but I think a lot of going back and remembering what Bobby meant to you guys and what he meant to the mountains. First of all, we'll get to Bobby in a second, but I want to talk about your team a little bit before we get to Bobby. Got a district play starts tomorrow night, and you guys will be right in the thick of it as you open up tomorrow night as you play Lee County in the opening game. Talk about your team as you head to the district tournament and how you feeling.
Main thing is right now we're healthy. Don't have anybody sick. Don't have any major injuries, and we've dealt with a lot this year on the injury front. But right now, at the best time of the year, we're healthy. So, I like where we're at. I like how we're playing. I've told my team that for the past couple of weeks that I like where we're at right now. We started the year off a little slower than I would like, but those losses early on don't matter now. So I just keep letting them know, just keep growing as we go. And I told them today, everybody's 0-0 starting tomorrow, and the first team to win 5 in a row will play it rough. So that's just kind of like our focus right now.
Well, let's technically not. Letcher and Nod are not 0-0 right now. They're 1-0 because they played today. So.
Oh, okay. Well,
but you are right, Coach. You are right, Coach. I mean, I'm just playing around with that because the 53rd started their tournament today. How close was you guys to starting today? Knowing the draw was going to be Wednesday.
We never discussed it.
Okay.
It was it was set at the meeting, and no other dates were really discussed. So I don't know how that's going to work out for us. Girls play championship game on Wednesday night. Obviously, hopefully we're there, and I guess we're just drawing. I don't know exactly how that's going to work. So I'll
give you an idea because the 54th in the same boat because their championship game is not till Thursday. So the 56th and the 54th are going to have it'll say runner up and champion beside the opponent because I think the 53rd will be done Tuesday. The 55th will be done Tuesday. So Wolf, Breathitt, Letcher, and Nod are already all in. We're just waiting for you guys to play tomorrow night, and then we play tomorrow night. And then, of course, our championship game is Thursday, and your guys' is Wednesday. So, that draw. I mean, you'll know your opponent, but you won't know who the champion or the runner-up is in the 50 in your guys' district and ours. So that's going to be. Does that, if you make it and you see that draw, does that affect your? Does it affect the way that you're going to go into your championship game?
No, I don't think it does. I mean, and I know there's always I know where you're going with this, the school of thought out there of a good draw, as a loser, or would I be better off to go in as a winner? But when we step on the court, we're trying to win. So
everybody's trying to win. I mean, that's the bad thing about drawing Wednesday. I don't like that because, you see that bracket, you're going, Uh-oh. I don't like. I don't know about that right there. Now, I mean, it's going to get you. It's going to get coaches to thinking. But these teams have enough pride in themselves to never pay attention to that bracket. I would hope not get in that situation. But I think coaches do need to know that they need to be careful of the situation because once the girls see the bracket on Wednesday, they're going to be thinking, I don't know. I mean, you'll have to get your girls and tell them to beware. Don't pay attention to that bracket right now. Pay attention to if you make championships Wednesday night, and then your opponent you're playing, then you can worry about that bracket after that game.
Yeah, I'm just not sure that there's going to be a draw on the girls' side this year that's that much better than anybody else. I just think there's so many teams in our region right now that could, if not win it, they're good enough to knock somebody off. So I just don't know that there's just not going to be that draw out there this year that everybody's going to want. I don't see it. So I'm hoping my girls don't even know that the draw happens Wednesday. We're not going to tell them. So unless there's social media out there, which they'll find, hopefully they just miss out on all that.
Yeah. Well, hopefully don't. I hope none of the girls team see the draw not till Thursday, and then they'll make it look better. Coach, you played Lee County. I know you played them a couple of times during the regular season. Won pretty convincingly. But what concerns do you have going in tomorrow night? Because you cannot overlook anybody. We've seen that in the past. We've seen ones get beat by 16. We've seen best team not play real well. So what do you got to keep from happening tomorrow night when you play Lee County?
We just got to remain focused. And we talked about that today, that, each game's one at a time. You got to win the first one to get to the second one. And I always tell the girls, I've been a part of two on both ends of the spectrum. As we're in the 1-4 game right now. I was in the 1-4 game Macy Gibson's junior year, and we knocked the 1 seed off and went on to win the district that year as the 4. Followed it up the next year. Owsley was the 1 and lost in the first round to the 4 seed Powell County. So in our 56 district, you can't take anything for granted. Those games are always tough. There's just there's that pride. Every school has pride, and they're going to come out and fight and play hard. And Lee County's no different. They're much improved over last year. Kaylee White's shooting the ball really well, and they've got a big girl inside that really rebounds the ball well, plays physical. So, we worked on them today, and we've not looked ahead at all to next opponent or anything like that. Our total focus has been on Lee County, and I hope the girls maintain that focus through tomorrow night. Hopefully we take care of business.
Yeah. You gotta be wary of that. One team I want to talk about before we get to Bobby, Coach. Estill County's been coming on strong the past month. They have. I think they were a little. I think they had some of the same problems you had: a little sickness, a little bit of injury, creep up on people. And if they can get past Powell tomorrow night, they're going to be that dangerous team that nobody wants to play.
Oh, yeah, they are. Mia's been head down here for a while over the past 2 or 3 seasons. She's way better than everybody knew about, and she's probably having her best season, of her career this year. We'll say last 3 weeks she's played really, really well. Estill, Coach Hughes has done a really good job. They play a really good man-to-man defense. They're holding teams down in the high 40s, low 50s, and when you can do that, you're in the game. Got a couple more kids, both Baker girls. They're long, athletic. The younger one, Sarah, gets her hands on a ton of basketballs and blocks shots, and they're big Angel. She's played really well over the past pretty much all season.
Yeah. And
they've already got a win over us this year on our floor. So if we're matched up with Estill on Wednesday night, and hopefully we're there. It's going to be a good game, tough matchup, and we're definitely have to be ready to go that night.
It'll be on a neutral floor because it's at Lee County, so we'll have to remember that. Tommy, you got any questions basketball wise before I talk to him about Bobby? Because I want to make sure that we got all the basketball questions out before I'm focused on Bobby.
Yeah, Coach, you talked about, a little bit of a slow start, playing really well, where you guys kind of want to be. Started 2-6, then really 14-4 since then, really, according to my math. Now, I wouldn't trust my math too much. Actually, I'm already seeing that that's wrong, so never mind. I think it's 14-4. But again, a lot of runs there. You guys went 9-2. That was kind of the meat and potatoes of district and regional play there. Now in your last 7 here, you're 5-2. Only 3 of those opponents, though, were inside your region, playing PAL there twice. So I guess 4 games in that. But the last few here, playing outside of the region as we start to go into district and region time, does that help you at all? Was that by design? And if so, how does that help you guys going into playoff basketball time?
Yeah, it was definitely by design. We knew going into the season, when we picked those games up with Montgomery County, that they were going to be 1, 2, or 3 in their region down there. And, a lot of really good young players on that team. A really good inside game and really solid guard play. And then Jackson County the same way. We knew they were going to be sitting at that, 4 or 5 range, maybe in the 13th. And with their size, they're going to be really dangerous over there for a lot of teams. Just looking for those matchups that we might see going forward gives us a chance to try different things and just kind of test and see where we're at as far as outside competition and just trying to avoid, those top Letcher, Knott, Leslie, Perry, those type teams that we think we could see in the regional, tournament, trying to avoid those teams late in the year, but have that competition level with teams like those. So definitely by design. Hopefully it works out for us.
Yeah, sometimes when you do that scheduling, weather gets in your way. Weather got your way with some of those games early in the year had to be pushed back to late in the season, so you wind up having to play a couple of those teams you didn't want to play, want to play them, but you want to play them early. You end up having to play them late because of weather, and that messed up things a little bit. Weather's been messed up a lot of things lately. Go ahead, Coach.
We had almost 2 week breaks in our season where, I think one time we were out 13 days and another 10 or 11. And that's a long time in girls basketball. And it was all weather related. So, it made scheduling at the end of the year very interesting.
Yeah. Coach Sparks, I was talking with him, and it was to get a game played, you had to about stick it in the middle of playing back to back to back, and a lot of teams have played 3 and 4 nights in the past month, so it's been very interesting. Coach, I've said this 100 times. I'll say it 100 more. You come to Owsley County, it's always a great honor. It's a great place to come. Love being down there. But you guys lost a great person on Monday. Bobby Bowen lost his fight with cancer. And, Coach, I've known Bobby for quite a long time. I've known him through his coaching stops and his other teaching places he's been. But tell me what does Bobby mean to the Owsley County community, even though he hadn't been there only a couple of years, but I feel like he brought a new life experience to your school.
He did. When he came in, he came in with the attitude, Bobby was a winner, and he wanted people around him that won. He would push you to, to be better, to improve at what you were doing. And he wanted, Bobby was a basketball guy. He loved the game, but he really came in with the attitude as AD. He really embraced the role of wanting all of our programs to be better and do better. And he was really good, on the days it's as a coach, you have a bad day. he's really good about sending you a message and just something to uplift you a little bit. And for me on the basketball side, it was just, such a, I don't know, I got where I leaned on him, where, he was a phone call away from me, if I had a question, and, we were discussing stuff, going back and forth, breaking game film down. And, I just got really, really close to him over the past 2 or 3 years, and just saw his competitiveness and his willing to work, and he just brought something to the programs. I don't know how you replace it. We'll be looking for a long time to find someone like Bobby. He rebranded our program completely. He brought in, all the social media and promoting our kids and pushing them. And he just was just an ambassador for our program and for our school and for our sports. And he's just a special person.
I thought he done a good job, not only on the basketball side, but with all your sports at Owsley County. He really. We talked off the. I called him when I wanted him to be on the show, and he said, "I'd be honored to be on your show, CJ. I'm just tickled death you asked me to be a part of your show." And I said, "Bobby, I want you to be a part of my show." And at that time, Bobby was just starting to, he's starting to have the sickness, and we're starting to, but we talked about how he learned how the other sports sort of connect with each other. Track, video game, cheerleading. You guys don't have football. You got baseball, softball. He learned that those other sports connected with each other, and that's how he learned to connect with even more people. The people that already knew him from the basketball side, but he said he's starting to. He goes, CJ, I've learned so much about video gaming and cheerleading and baseball, softball. He goes, I didn't know these things, not just being a basketball coach. He goes, being an athletic director, I get to see so many more people, boys and girls, coaches. I get to relay with them more. I get to have more friendships. And that's what being a friend to him was what it meant if you didn't know Bobby Bowen. If you wasn't his friend, he was disappointed because he wanted to be a friend with everybody.
Yeah, one of his big things when he came in, one of the first meetings we had with him is, being a small district, we have to share athletes, but it's always difficult for a coach to give them up. And one of his big things when he started was triple threat athletes. Owsley's not really known or had any triple threat athletes over the past since I've known, and I've been in the district a long time. And that was one of his goals was, to get some of those really good athletes and have the triple threat athletes. And, I don't know if a lot of people knows it, but this year Owsley will have 4 or 5 triple threat athletes for the first time. It's not happened since I remember. So, and like I said, I've been in the district a long time, and 4 of my basketball girls will be triple threat athletes this year. And that was just something that, he wanted to take those, Lexi Lynch, such a great basketball player. And, he had her playing golf this year, and she's playing softball. My daughter picked up golf this year, and he was just, he was all about the kids and all about our programs and all about Owsley County. And he just found a home back home, been gone for a while. And he had a passion for Owsley County and for our sports and for our kids. And he was home, and we're just going to miss him.
I'm hoping that you guys can do something special in his honor in the upcoming months and weeks and whatever. I'm hoping that you'll find something that can leave a legacy for others to be a part of and never forget Bobby.
Well, we're working on a little something right now, and I'll spring it out there tonight. And you heard it here first. We're working on next year Coach Bowling Classic during the basketball season, and we're looking to bring in all
awesome.
those things that he was, a part of, the North Laurels and You know, he's got connections in Montgomery County, Powell County, Hazard, Somerset, and just going to look at bringing in some of those programs and having a day, you know, just for him, and hopefully be able to raise a little money for the Lymphoma Association and just do something special for him next year.
Coach, you Coach Sparks, I know he'll be a part of that. You know he'll be a part of that. You know he'd love to be a part of that. You give him a phone call. That's one person I know will be a big time part of that. He would love to be a part of that. I'm so glad you're doing that. That's tickled me to death. Tommy, you want to ask him anything about Bobby before we let Coach go? I know he's got some game planning he needs to prepare for tomorrow night.
Yeah, no, I think you both just kind of hit it all. I mean, again, it's one of those things that you repeat, but it can't be said enough, and words won't do justice. But just what he meant to not only Owsley County, but all of his stops along the way in Eastern Kentucky, and even more specifically, Coach, you kind of mentioned it there too, just what he meant to all of the athletes there at Owsley County, no matter what sport they played, and even outside of that too, just walking the halls, knowing the guy that he was. I'm sure everybody he saw or met during the day, he kind of left he had an impact on them for sure. I just think his Twitter bio, if I remember it correctly, said at the end, it's okay to disagree, but I'll still pray for you. And that just speaks to the man that he was. So definitely a big loss. And Coach, we're your community and your team is in our thoughts and prayers.
We appreciate that. We definitely lost someone special this week, and me, for me it's the loss for the kids, for the student athletes. No one has an idea exactly how much he meant to them, and they knew he had their back, and didn't take him a very long time at all to build that relationship, and he built a lot of special friends down here with our kids, and I think they'll remember him for the rest of their life, just knowing, how much, not only he meant to them, but how much they meant to him. So just there was a love there for our kids, and it's a very special thing. Coach,
thank you so much for being back on the show again. I know anytime I holler at you jump at the occasion to be on here. Anytime we can talk about your Lady Owls or anything going on in Owsley County, it's a good thing. Good luck to you and your team tomorrow night and the rest of the week. Hope you guys get in the region and participate. You guys, our prayers and thoughts are with you all, and you just all be safe over there, and good luck to you.
Thank you, and I appreciate you having me. Anytime I can be on, it's an honor, CJ. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much, Travis. Travis Smith, head basketball coach of the Lady Owls of Owsley County. They get set tomorrow night. They're going to play Lee County at Lee County. 6 o'clock is game time if you want to check them out over there at Lee County. So good luck, Coach.
Thank you.
Good luck, Coach.
Now we're going to bring another coach in. See if we can. Now joining us is the head basketball coach of the Mountaineers of OBI, Mr. Anthony Hibbard. Coach, thank you for joining us here tonight.
Hey, guys. Thanks for having me. Really excited.
Tickled death to have you on the show. This is your first year, right? Or second year?
First year head coach.
First year. Yeah. A lot of people remember you from being an assistant at Clay County. You helped out over there a long time, get your first head coaching gig. And you done something. Did I see this the first winning season in about 4 or 5 years? Is that correct?
I think that's correct. We finished our regular season this past week with the win at Leslie County, and that put us at 15-13. That's where we're at right now. We play Redbird tomorrow to start the district out. If we're in position to win tomorrow, I think That puts us at 16 wins, and that's probably going to be the best record since 99, 2000 at Oneida, I think. I'll have to go
Wow.
back and check, but I think they had a winning season back in 2018. So, I mean, we're really blessed and fortunate to be where we're at, and the guys that we have right now, man, they bought in. They went to battle and they went to war for us every single day. And like I said, I know for a lot of people, 15-13, that may not sound impressive or whatever, but like if people knew where we was at, like when we took the job May 14th of last year, President Gritton, he looks at me, he said, "Coach, I'd love to introduce you to your team, but you don't have a team." So, so here we are at the end of this season, fresh off, they didn't even have a team last year.
Yeah.
And, I mean, it was a total rebuild. And, right now we're sitting with a winning record, but it's just remarkable. And I think that's a testament to, our coaching staff that we've put together and the guys that we've sort of put together. They've worked really, really hard this year.
I feel like that you watching you play the other night when you played Leslie County. I saw a lot of tensional tension stuff you brought from when your coaching days at Clay County, man-to-man defense, half court stuff that you run. I saw a lot of that, and your kids run it well, shoot the ball well. I was really impressed with you, big guy. He's one of the most. I was keeping stats too, and I had him with over 15 rebounds. I don't know what you guys had him with stat-wise rebounding, but I mean, he probably had 10 or 11 on this offensive glass on 3 or 4 one possession. I mean, he's such an impact player. Talk about your team, because I feel like they don't get enough credibility for how good they can be if they all play together and stick together.
Right. Well, and here's the thing about us, and we've dropped some games this year where we probably, if we would have played those games at the end of the year, we would have probably won those games. If you look at our roster and you just look at everybody on there, we really didn't have anybody with any kind of varsity experience at all. So that led to sort of inconsistency. Like, we'd play one really good quarter and then we'd play 2 bad quarters, or we'd play really, 2 really good quarters. But we've struggled with consistency like the entire year. And like you mentioned, Kazim right there. Here's the thing about Kazim. He's never played varsity basketball. He's 6'5", 255 pounds. I mean, like right now, he's just, I don't know, he's coming into himself, and like he's dunking the ball like in traffic right now. He's pulling down 15, 16 rebounds a game. And here's the crazy thing. He just turned 17 years old. I mean, that's
Wow.
the crazy thing. And he's a senior. And it's unfortunate, a lot of people got to take advantage of, reclassing and stuff like that. And here's a kid, he's only played 2 years of basketball. And we were not able to sort of offer that to him. And I just can't imagine him just getting one more year of just, 30 games in the summer, a whole, conditioning off-season program, and then coming back next winter. I mean, I think he would just be an animal next year. And then you got another kid, Isaiah Markham. He's just scratching the surface of how good he could be. I mean, like, we've asked him to do a lot of things that he, and carry a lot of weight that he didn't plan on doing all, and, leading us in scoring and just helping out, with the boards and stuff like that. Not only has he grown like as a basketball player, but man, he's just so like, I'm talking about a 180 from how he sort of reacts to like issues and problems like that. At the beginning of the year, if things didn't go his way, he would just quit. And then once he figured out that, hey, if I quit, all these other guys are looking at me, they're depending on me. Once he figured that out, I think he just started realizing, man, I've got to be here for my teammates. And I'm super proud of him. And, we have some other guys that just sort of stepped up. And one guy that, I think he's one of the top freshmen in the state of Kentucky in the class of 2025 is our point guard, Jared Roark. No varsity experience. He comes in, he's averaging 14 points a game, 5 rebounds, 5 assists a game. And we basically just, hey, here's the ball. We need you to get the ball before, get us in sets and, all this stuff. And like I said, he's a freshman and he's doing all this stuff, and it's crazy, you know. And like, you know, he's got a 2-to-1 assist to turnover ratio. And like I said, though, it's almost a testament to these kids because they come in every single day and they just work their tail off. And, you know, without hesitation, without question, it's crazy that, you know, they're buying into everything that we're just sort of selling. So, but yeah, you know, while I'm thinking about it, I just want to give a big shout out to Coach Eddie Mahan and Coach Brad Sizemore winning Coach of the Year in 13th Region.
Yeah,
those
I'm gonna
guys,
mention that a little bit later, but I'm glad you brought that up. Yeah.
Two of my coaching mentors, not only that, but they're two of my best friends, and man, they put a lot of time into it. And I just now I know you guys cover a lot in the 14th and stuff like that, and you know, we've got some really good players and really good coaches in 13th and 14th. But man, those guys are two of the best for sure. So, and you know, I was assistant at North with Brad and Coach Mahan, so I got to sit under those guys for a couple of years. So,
what are you doing to get your program to go even further? How are you getting kids to buy in that are not playing with you right now, and be able to build your program from year to year to year to where you can eventually have OBI up there in the conversation where everybody's talking about you and your team?
Well, sure. I mean, that's the plan. And, well, you only get one time to, like, establish your culture. And that's something I figured out. And, you know, this is my 13th year overall and first year as a head coach. And I knew that going in. Like, we've only got 1 year to sort of get this thing right. And I can tell you right now, just sort of setting – I mean, the record, obviously, that's great. But, like, just sort of – seeing the guys like right now, how they used to be and how they are now, I think it's just we're seeing a lot of just incredible growth, not only just on the court but off the court. And the biggest theme of this year has been family, and we define that as forget about me, I love you, and that's been the yeah. I mean. It's been the whole theme of this year, and like, you know, on the court, off the court. Here's the thing: we've got to be in this thing together. You know what I'm saying? Like, because I mean, we've been spending so much time together. Like you know, I spend almost more time with these young men than I do like my wife and my family sometimes, and they have become my family, and that's what I tell them. You know. And the crazy thing is we got guys from all different backgrounds. We got guys from Nashville. We got guys from the Bronx. And, you know, we all look different. We talk different. But that's what makes it so unique, you know. And that's what I tell them at the beginning. You know, I may not be your blood or whatever. You don't have to be blood to be family. I figured that out early on in life. Once these kids, once they figure out that you really care for, like I'm talking genuinely care for them, like you care about them, not just on the court, you know, off the court. That's when I think special things can happen because, you know, obviously you want to have success on the court, and but like I think the biggest deal here is just sort of helping these kids off the court, and you know, at the end of the day here, you know, this team that we've got this year, they've got the best record since 99, 2000, whatever. But more than that, though, we've got a couple of guys walking out. Like they're just better people. Yeah. And I'm not saying that's because of us or because of me or our coaching staff, but it's a collective. And that's what I told them. Listen, we're in this together. When we win, it's together. When we lose, it's together. You know, we're going to go down with the ship. So, like I said, you know, hopefully we're in the conversation in a couple of years. That's what we want to build down there. It's not just on the court. It's off the court. We want the whole community to be involved. So, and we want it to be a family deal. You know, we want everybody to be involved.
Tommy, you got any questions for Coach?
Yeah, Coach. Just kind of back to May 14th there when you did take the job, like you were talking about, not having a team there. You know, how just a little more like how did that come together? How difficult was that? You know, last time OBI was able to play basketball, there were 3 sophomores on the roster, and that was it. Everybody else is out. So these kids, what backgrounds did they kind of come from playing wise, and how difficult was that to kind of mold? Because even if somebody was playing AAU or travel ball, that style is so different from high school varsity ball. So how hard was that to kind of craft that and kind of get everything ready for the season with all of that and all those moving parts in such a short amount of time?
I mean, it's just been that part of it alone has been really difficult. But, like I said, the end result is obviously, I think it's just an incredible result, especially if you just look at what we've sort of been doing. Now, in the beginning, we were just sort of checking applications and stuff like that, just sort of seeing who's applying for, to the school and stuff like that. And that's just sort of how we started out. And we had no idea. That's the thing. COVID hit Oneida. I mean, I think that was the first time they shut down their dorms in over 100 years. It may be the first time ever. So, they shut down their dorms. A lot of the kids had to just go somewhere else. And then they reopened the dorms, and, President Gritton called me, and, like I said, we took the job May 14th, and we didn't have a team. And we started getting some guys in, and, one or two guys here, one or two guys from here. And then about October, I know this sounds crazy because the season starts October 15th. October 1st, October 2nd, we basically had our roster. And here's the crazy thing. Most of these other teams, they've already played 25 summer games. They've already went through, August, September, October of some kind of conditioning program. We didn't have our roster to October. So we've sort of been learning a lot of things on the fly. I joke around with them all the time and just say, hey, we're just a thrown together softball team is what we are. I mean, that's what we are. But
I love that.
I'm telling you, man, there's a deal. I couldn't ask for a better group of guys to come in. I'm just telling you, they work extremely hard. And that's been our thing. Hey, we're going to do this together. We're all in together, okay? We're all in this together. And we're going to try to do it at a high level. And I'm not asking you to go out here and run 100 sets. So I'm not asking you to, do crazy things defensively. But here's what I'm asking you to do. You've got to play really, really hard. Because here's what I'm telling you. These other teams that we're playing, not only are they coached really, really well, but they've been together for years. And like I said, we're a thrown together softball team. So, we have got to play harder than this other team. And I think that alone has sort of carried us the entire year. Like I said, though, there's been times where we've just been so inconsistent, and it's been frustrating. But, that's you learn from your mistakes. So,
Coach CJ, I mean, that goes back to what we were saying earlier. High school sports are so much bigger than the X's and O's. Sure, you want to go and play, but I mean, it's what the outlets that these student athletes are getting and the lessons that they learn. There's still skill sets that I use in everyday life, and I'm sure both of you guys do too, that you picked up from playing sports and stuff in your childhood. But Coach, last question for me too is another one that you kind of mentioned on too. Talk about the process and how much of a different scenario it is here at OBI. I know you said that you were an assistant coach and coached different programs and stuff for a while, so not really new to the coaching staff, but your first head coaching jobs here where you do have to go through applications. You do have students living in dorms and stuff like that. How much different is that compared to your stops at North Laurel and Clay County and stuff, the programs that you've been in before?
Oh my goodness. I mean, it's totally different. Well, the unique thing about it is you get to meet people from all over the world. To me, that's just crazy. And, for my two little boys to sort of experience that, I love that. And they're just being, exposed to all these different cultures and people that don't look like us, or they don't talk like us. I just think that's incredible. Just from that aspect, though, you have international students, you have domestic students, you have people coming from New York, you have people coming from Florida, you got people coming from everywhere. The thing about it is you just have no idea who's going to show up. Now you do have local kids, and you have a local population. In terms of like the teams that they've had in the past, it's been really good down in Oneida. Now, here's the thing: I don't know if you guys know this, and I'm learning every day, and I love to talk about tradition. And matter of fact, I was talking to Coach Gritton Senior down there the other day, and that would be an incredible person to have on a show like this, because I love those old stories and just about the older times and stuff like that. But like the teams that they've had down there in the past, like they will have, and I'm talking about successful teams. They have some local kids mixed in with some like international kids, or some kids that come from in like Ohio or places like that. And I think the biggest thing is, like, for a coach, like my position is, you got to take these kids from different backgrounds. They've all had they're not like you. They're not like anybody else that you've been around, and you've got to somehow mesh them together. And I think that's what I'm just so proud of right now with like our coaching staff, and not only our coaching staff, but the faculty and staff down there. It's like we have this little crew, this collective group of guys. They're totally different. Individually, everybody's different, but we've meshed so well. Like, we go out, we just have a really good time together. And it's centered around basketball, but man, this is life for us. This is what we do. And that's what I told them, man. Hey, we just want to do life together. If we don't do life together, like, I don't know. I mean, that's sort of what we want to do.
Well, Coach, one thing I know, OBI, I've got some friends down there, and you mentioned about throwing your team together like a softball team. One of your friends played softball. One of your teachers, if I can remember, I don't know if he's there anymore or not, he played softball with me when we used to play men's softball. So I love that concept when you said that. So I took that to heart, because me and him he was a good friend of mine. I don't know if he's still down there or not. I can't remember his name because it's been a while since I've seen him. But you mentioned Coach Gritton. I would love to have him on the show. You ought to tell him to try to get a hold of me. I would love to have him on the show. I like to get more. One thing next year I'm going to try to do on this show is bring back some of our older coaches that have retired or have not, have not been in the sport anymore. The Randy Napiers, the Grittons, the Wendell Wilsons, the coaches that's
what we was talking about earlier. When I was talking to him, he was talking about a player down there that played like in the 70s and 80s. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of him. His name was Ben Franklin. He was an All-American down at Oneida, an All-American. He was telling me his stat line one time. He said he had like 36 points, 36 rebounds, and 17 blocks in the game. I mean, yeah, I mean, it's the craziest thing. And here's the deal: like Coach Gritton, I asked him. I said, you had this team in 1983. They averaged 96 points a game. If you look at the record book right now in the KHA, you'll see their team like number one in the state. They averaged 96 points. And they didn't even have the 3-point line. Like, there is a lot of tradition. There's a lot of history down there. And there's been a lot of good players come through that down there. So I just love hearing about those stories. I love hearing about the people and stuff like that. So
it's rich in Eastern Kentucky, that's for sure.
Well, Coach,
absolutely.
Yep. That's exactly right. Hold on, I got a phone call. Then I'll let you go, Coach. Hold on. Well, never mind. The phone call's disappeared. Phone tried to ring, and I was Coach. I'm tickled to death to have you on the show. I hope you can come back again. I would love to have you back on here again. I think OBI, when they hired you, they hired a jewel, because I think you're somebody that's going to stay there for a long time, and you're going to build a program that eventually they're going to be talking about OBI. They won't be talking about Corbin. They'll be talking about OBI. They'll be talking about OBI, and your name will be in the concept. So you hang in there, Coach, and but I'd love to have you back, because I love going. My times at OBI when I've been over for baseball and all kinds of other activities, they treat us with such kindness and friendship. And you guys are a Christian school. A lot of people forget that. You and Redbird both, I think, they forget that you guys both are Christian schools. So, but you keep up the good work, and please come back. I would love to have you back.
Well, I really appreciate you guys having me on. And like I said, I love what you guys do, and we got a lot of talented players. We got a lot of talented coaches around the region, around this area, and you guys provide sort of an outlet to sort of celebrate those people, and we should celebrate these people around here. And I love to be back on. So anytime you need me, just holler at me.
Coach, thank you so much. Good luck to you tomorrow night against Redbird, and good luck to the rest of the tournament, and we'll see you down the road.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Coach Anthony Hibbard of the OBI Mountaineers as he gets set to play Redbird tomorrow night down at Clay County. He'll be returning to those stomping grounds as where his sister coach there. They will play Redbird at 7:45 tomorrow night. As the girls will play OBI, Redbird will play at 6. So, again, thank you, Coach, and appreciate it very much. I'm going to go ahead and bring in John as he's going to
the other Mountaineer.
Yes, the other Mountaineer. That's true. That is true. Yes, very true. But technically, you're a higher Mountaineer than he would be because they're OBI in the high school. You're a fan on the college level.
I think OBI could beat West Virginia, so I don't know. I mean, I think.
I would like to see that game. That would be interesting. It would be very interesting. It's good to see you. Haven't saw you in about a week or two. Courtney was our last visitor. Great seeing Courtney. I think Courtney was really amazed with what went on down at the All-A. She got to be a part of something that many people don't get to be a part of much often, where you have mountain teams still down there on championship day or not. And I tell you what, a couple weeks ago, that was some special basketball done after the All-A.
It was great because, I mean, not just for Pikeville and Breathitt County, but for teams like Jackson County girls to get a win, and Harlan had a run, and it was just a really Pikeville had the girls team had a run, so it was really nice. Out of the 6 teams we sent there, 5 of them won a game at least, and that was really cool to watch. So just as cool as it is for me to do a show with Mr. Paige Nicole. Not
you too, John. Come on now. I get that enough. Not from you now.
He hasn't announced that yet. Well, he did tell me before the show, but he's Tommy is engaged to be married, and they're working on wedding stuff right now. And congratulations. Congratulations. That's I will be married 14 years come Wednesday. I love every bit of my 14 years. Would never trade her for nothing in the world. So, but congratulations. But John wanted to get a little gab in there. So
everybody's a comedian these days. Everybody's a funny guy.
I can't give him too much. I knew Tommy before I knew half of the people I work with. So only by about a couple of months, but I still knew him before half the people I work with.
Time's time, right, John? It doesn't matter how long. Win's a win. Win's a win.
All right. We technically the regular season's over, but technically the postseason's already started. We had 3 games today. There wasn't really enough. Well, the Not Letcher game, not finally beat Letcher for the first time this year, and did qualify for the region. And we knew Not and Letcher girls were going to win. We knew they were going to be set there Tuesday night. I think it's Cordy and JBS. They're just not, they're just not in their category. But I thought the Not Letcher game was a pretty good game. Not led by 15. Letcher cut it to 3, but then they couldn't get any closer. What was your guy? What's the thinking here as we head into full postseason mode tomorrow night? I know we got a lot of games. You guys are going to be covering it from the 12th all the way down to the 15th. Got some really good matchups. Some games like this. I'm going to throw 2 boys games at you. Paintsville and Johnson Central boys. if I'm correct, and Harlan County, Bell County boys. Those are just two games that we're going to be seeing. So what's your thoughts as we head into the postseason, even though it started today?
When I saw the draw for that district, I'm trying to blank on which actual district that is, the 57th district, and I saw Paintsville, Johnson Central, the hair went up on the back of my neck. Because even though I wasn't here last year, I remember that Paintsville Johnson Central game down in Appalachian Wireless Arena last year. Oh man, and I was thinking, oh no, they're both getting hot at the right time. Paintsville just beat Pikeville last week.
Drilled them. They didn't. They absolutely embarrassed Pikeville. But I think Pikeville probably didn't approach that game because they had some, winning the All-A stuff, all this now. Somebody making. They probably were tired, and eventually you're going to throw a game or two there that you don't. And now Paintsville's, I think, the second best team in the 15th behind Lawrence, Paintsville. I think they're the two that are with Pikeville. But the biggest key to this game is that it's at Johnson Central. Just like the Bell County, Harlan County game is at Bell. Yep. You do not know how much that home court advantage helps in district tournament because it's a 15-point difference swing for the home team.
That's something even Brian Milam and I were talking about yesterday up in Lexington when I was up there for the Alabama game, which, by the way, great. That was my favorite game all year. But we were talking about Breathitt Perry if they make it to the 14th region final. And he's like, well, on an even playing field, who wins? And I said, well, I mean, it's not going to be an even playing field. It's going to be at Breathitt. So,
yeah.
I
think when Breathitt Perry played a couple weeks ago, I really don't think John I don't think John showed a whole lot because John Noble's a very crafty individual. He ain't going to show a whole lot. He's going to show just enough to get by because he knows that the tournament's in Jackson, so he knows they're going to have to come to him if they want to win it. So,
and really, that game doesn't matter.
No,
I mean, it's not a district game. It doesn't matter.
Just a win for Prairie Central and it bettered their record. That's all it did. So, I mean, just like the North Knox Central game, I don't think it done any. Knox Central, I talked to several people the next day at the laundromat that was at that game. The boys would have loved to have won it. But they didn't. They didn't bother them. They lost. You just might have given. You might see North Florida winning that game now. Might get them to to say, okay, well we'll play them again. We'll beat them again. But I don't think that But I think Knox Central. The biggest key to everything comes Saturday morning when they draw. Because if Knox Central and North Florida are in the same bracket, this will be the biggest tournament in 13th region history, if it happens. Because you're going to wind up with the pool of games are going to be unbelievable. But teams that are going to be left behind this week, John, teams that are going to be left behind, like Dale Harlan County, somebody's going to be left behind. Johnson Central Paintsville, somebody's going to be left behind. Let me find some other games that teams are going to be left behind that are really good teams.
Shelby Valley, East Ridge, two solid teams. One of them will be left behind.
Somebody's not going to the tournament. But you get there, you have to know. I think the two games we've been talking about the most are the two games that are going to be the best games. Johnson Central, when I had Coach McKenzie on here a couple weeks ago, he said if we beat Paintsville, we get the number 1 seed. He knew that going into that game. They stubbed their toe. They lost to Paintsville. They didn't get the number 1 seed. So if I know him, okay, well, we have to go back to the drawing board now. We're going to have to beat Paintsville again. We can beat them. We can beat them once. We'll beat them again. But Paintsville's over say, well, hey, we just beat Pikeville 30, so hey, we can roll into Johnson Central and beat them. But that's going to be unbelievable. Now,
well, CJ, real quick, sticking with that district. I mean, that district has been nuts for the last 4 years, 3 years. I mean, it's crazy to think that. And I looked earlier, and I think if memory serves me correct, they're 3rd, 4th, and 5th in the 15th right now, being Martin County, Paintsville, and is it Johnson Central?
Yeah.
So I think they're 5th. But yeah, so you've got 3, 4, and 5 in your region, and one of them's not going to make it.
Right. And well, that district ended in a 3-way tie between Martin County, Paintsville, and JC.
Oh, for seeding?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that ended up being a draw, and that's just how it ended up drawing.
So I mean, that's what you're at. You've got a 3-way tie there for the region, a toss up, and somebody's not going to make it because of just that draw and how chips are going to fall for those semifinal games.
Yeah, same thing happened in the 52nd district. Harlan County, and Bell County.
Yeah,
They finished in a 3-way tie.
Really?
3-way tie. They had the draw. Harlan got the draw. They ended up getting Middlesboro. Harlan County has to go play Bell. And if you remember early in the year when Bell beat Harlan County there at home, Bell beat them convincingly. They shut down Noah. They took him plumb out of the ball game. Nobody else could score the basketball. And Bell County's they're going to have there'll be a sold out crowd both at Johnson Central and at Bell. There'll be nobody won't be able to get in there. The fire marshal will be shutting the doors down. Those 2 games will be the.
Well, you better let me in there. You better let me in there. I plan on being there.
They'll let you in, but I mean, you can't find 2 bigger games on district tournament week than those 2, because you're like Tommy just said. You look at the records in the 15th region. You got Pikeville 1, Lawrence County 2, Betsy Lane 3. We didn't talk about Lawrence County and Betsy Lane, who are 2 teams that are probably just as good as the bottom the 3 teams that's in the 57th district.
Mm-hmm. Well, and from the times too that I was there, so I came in, my first basketball season would have been the 18-19 year. And from that time on, and even the years leading up to that, obviously I went back and did research. I wasn't there, but I still looked at them. I can't tell you a name, or I can't tell you a year where there has been a runaway in a region tournament. They have all come down, no matter who is the leading dog in the regular season. There's always a fight. That team always faces adversity in the region tournament. And 9 times out of 10, they get upset by somebody. And, now that's even spilling out into the districts. We've always had tough region battles. We've always had a couple of guys who could win, and this spills down into the girls too. It's the same thing, where there's always multiple teams that can win each region. And now that's even spilled into the districts to make it that much crazier to even get in. CJ, you were talking about the 13th earlier with how Knox Central and North Laurel would kind of pair up and stuff like that. A tournament that really stuck out to me was in 2020, not last season, the year before that, when Knox and North Laurel had to play in the very first game, and then the winner got South Laurel, so then it was Knox South, and not taking anything away from Harlan County because they had to get through Clay County.
Yeah.
And then they ended up being in there in that first year. But, they were able to kind of come in because if you looked at everything on paper, and again, not taking anything away from Harlan County, what they have been able to do there the last 2 years, especially last year, and they're in the Mountain Classic and stuff like that last year, has been spectacular. But if you looked at everything on paper, it was Knox Central, South Laurel, and North Laurel. And those teams taking each other out in the quarters and semis. And it paves a way, not for an underdog, but paves way for another team that proves that they can be there. And it just kind of paves the way for them a little bit more. Now, I'm not saying Harlan County couldn't have beat one of those teams if they faced them. I'm sure they could. But again, it throws in another team in there where you've got 5 or 6 teams here in these region tournaments. And again, like I said, now you got that in the districts too, where you're having teams that can make those runs in region that won't even get a chance because they can't make it out of the district.
Yeah. And we've talked about one thing. We've talked about a lot of boys. I want to talk about one thing. 15, the girls. Why can't Shelby Valley compete with Pikeville? They've played 3 times this year, and it's been a double-digit wins for Pikeville. Seems like this. And Cassidy don't seem to be a factor in any of the 3 games. Why are they doing such a good job defending her?
I really can't, because like when I'm watching the games and I'm physically there, whether I'm watching it or watching it on PRG or something, it's like Cassidy has the same kind of intensity, but it's like I just don't know if it's just Pikeville's defense is just so good at locking her down, or if they're good at locking down Elswick. Because I mean, a lot of what that offense is going through Cassidy and Alyssa, and I can't quite figure out if just Pikeville is just that much better, or I because like when you watch it just through the lens of the camera and you don't look at the scoreboard, it looks like a game. Like it looks like a competitive game. So I can't quite figure out what it is, or if it's just Trinity Rowe and Riley Tice and Kyra Thornsberry and Christy Orm just happens to be her kryptonite. I don't know what it is. That's something that stumbled me this whole time, because you're right, they played each other 3 times, and heck, when they played at Shelby Valley the other night, they put them on a running clock. So I can't figure that out either.
Yeah, well, KBA brought their players of the year and coaches of the year out. Our mountain representatives, let's give those real quick. In the 12th region, it was Caroline Oakes from Pulaski County. 13th region, it was Hallie Valentine from North Laurel. Kaylee Banks from Letcher Central on the 14th. Cassidy Rowe from Shelby Valley in the 15th. Boys, it was 12th region. John Fraley was the coach of the year. This is the coach of the year in the 13th was Brad Sizemore. This is boys. Shanna Hoskins was coach of the year in the 14th. Chandler Thompson was coach of the year in the 15th from Lawrence County. Bart Williams was the coach of the year in the 16th from Bath County. Now, the boys players of the year, 12th region was Luke Infield from Boyle County. Jordan Cow was the 13th region player of the year. Landon Napier of Prairie Central was player of the year from 14th. Brady Dingus, Mark County, and then Brady Bell from Russell. Girls coaches of the year, Jimmy McCudlin from Garrett County, Eddie Meehan from North Laurel, Brandon Hayes from Breathitt County, Lonnie Rowe from Shelby Valley, and Faith Kahn from West Carter. Now, as I say that, and now I'm going to put you on the spot. This is KBA. Now, this is KBA. So we're not even going to, in your, what you saw this year, give me your coach of the year, your comeback player of the year, your player of the year, and your 6th man of the year in all 3 regions, 13, 14, 15.
Well, I need to be careful here.
I agree on this right here. Some, I don't agree on a few, but I ain't going to tell you which one I don't agree, because I don't want to upset nobody and hurt nobody's feelings.
And that's why I don't want to say anything either.
Well, I mean, but you've seen the games. We haven't. I mean, we haven't seen them all. Because, I mean, I have no problem with Brandon Hayes being the coach of the year in the 14 girls. But there was a lot of great coaches that had good years.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I mean, he got it. Now, congratulations to him. But, I mean, Katie, we don't, the Kentucky basketball, so most of these kids, the kids on here are seniors. Now, if we was to go underclassmen, because most of these kids are your Mr. Basketball candidates, right? Am I correct on this? These are all seniors. Your coaches are from different varieties, because they tried not to give the same coach of the year over and over. They try to give it different, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
But if we just watched it fiscally down the middle, what would you say? Okay, I'll put you on the spot. Just give me a couple of coaches and a couple of players that you think that'll help out, because it won't put one person, it'll put several. Right. Okay. Couple of coaches.
I'll take it a step further. I'll go aside from the ones that are mentioned.
Okay. That's fair.
So 15th, you mentioned so Lonnie, it was Lonnie Rowe was the coach of the year, and then you had Cassidy Rowe as player of the year. Then you had Chandler Thompson and Brady Dingus. So I would also throw in there, obviously you got to put Elisha Justice in there. I mean, you just have to, what he's done this year with this team. I would say player of the year, Riley Salmons for sure, or as a potential candidate. I think Cody Maynard would be a good candidate, or Lawrence County. So, you got a lot to Colby Fugit, another good candidate in the 15th region. Girls side, Christy Orm. You have to mention Christy Orm.
Yeah.
Especially with what this team has done. Really, you can name any player on Pikeville's roster in that player of the year conversation. Trinity will probably top that list. Trying to think 14th region here. And then also in player of the year, you could mention Alyssa Ellswick as well. So Alyssa has
no question about that. She's great. She's a great center forward combo. She can play both positions.
14th region. I mean, John Noble, Al Holland with what he's had this year.
I thought Lee County did such an awfully good job this year, considering that where they're at, and they're going to get an opportunity to get. I think they're going to make the regional tournament this year. They got two of the better players that nobody talks about, and the Waterson kid and the other. I can't remember the other kid's name off the top, but Lee County would have been one. I think that guy could have been a candidate for coach of the year because he's done a super job with them, and he's brought them so far.
Yeah. I'll be interested to see. I don't really know as much about that district, the Lee, Powell, Estill, Owsley district.
Brad Hall did a good job in his first year at Estill. I think,
they gave Hazard a game. They gave Hazard a great game. So, but that I would go with that. I mean, Jeff Noble for sure. I think what? Going back to the 15th, Winston Lee of Jenkins. I mean, they haven't had a great year, but he's turning around that program. So,
Winston's done an unbelievable job with Jenkins. The culture is going to change now, and I think if they could ever I wish they hadn't left the 14th because that's where they belong. That's their home. But Winston's learning them to learn how to play ball in the 15th, and that's a great thing.
That's a tough district he's in, 59th district. That's East Ridge is good, Shelby Valley's good, Pikeville's great. So that's a tough district.
I like the way you put that. Good, great. Okay, great. It's okay.
All right, what did I say? Al Holland.
Al.
Yeah. I
would have picked John Noble. I mean, he's had a great year. Got all the way to the finals of All A. I mean, he made.
Yep. Christian Collins.
Yeah.
I would throw Tyler Day in there. Landon Napier, of course. You also got
player of the year.
Yeah, Nas Welch.
Cordia is the one team that everybody's going to have to watch out for in the region coming up in the 14th because Cordia will knock off somebody. Cordia will send somebody to the house. That's
one thing I was talking to Michael Jones when I was doing that story on Trent Noah, and I said, what is it with Cordia? They have this way of losing in such great, fantastical ways. They look good losing. I've never seen anything quite like it.
I want to say John, there was a time, I can't remember the year, and I might be mixing this up, but there was some crazy stat with Cordia, and whatever keeps sticking in my mind, it seems like they lost all of their games that they lost by like 6 points or less.
Yeah.
And I mean, that was to like Perry, that was to Hazard, and that was probably 2 or 3 years ago. And again, I might be getting that mixed up, but there was something crazy with them. Yeah. I mean, even if they are 2-13 or something like that they have been in the past, it comes this time and nobody is safe from Cordia. What they can do is just ridiculous.
Well, they hung 85 on Harlan County and still lost. It was insane.
Yeah, they're definitely the record may not show it from year to year, but they still have a lot of firepower.
We have seen a lot of that this year in the regular season. Teams score 85, 90 points and get beat. I mean, I don't know how many times I've seen teams score a whole bunch of points to get beat. I mean, we probably won't say it's a lack of defense, but it's really not. It's just you got so much talent oozing out all over the place. People, I mean, Trent Noah's 60 points. I mean, come on. I mean, he has almost half their points in one game. He scored enough points in 2 nights a couple weeks ago to fill one team's whole season full of points. I mean,
It was. I saw one of them the other night. I was up in Louisa. I watched Lawrence County lose to Martin County 86-84.
Yeah.
Which was a hilarious contradiction to the other game I shot, which was Johnson Central Belfry Girls, a game that ended in a 27-23 final.
Sometimes
Belfry won, by the way.
Sometimes
you just don't see that a lot in high school basketball. I mean, before this year, you don't see many shootout games like that. But again, also CJ, to your point, I think that's what made so much controversy for these player of the districts, player of the region announcements and stuff like that, is because I don't want to say somebody got snubbed or whoever was winning wasn't deserving of it. Everybody was deserving of it, but there were also 3 or 4 more people that were just as deserving because of the talent level there. So it's one of those things where it was so hard to just pick one, because you're seeing performances like that, because there are 86 to 87 games and stuff like that. Losers are scoring 85 and stuff like that. So yeah, the talent level has just been through the roof here.
With KBA, they vote like in the end of January, beginning of February. Well, I mean, somebody could go off the last 3 weeks of the regular season, and was a perfect candidate for Player of the Year. I'll give you one right now. Mia Hamm in Estill County. Tremendous player. She got off to a little bit of a slow start. And Kelly Banks at Letcher Strickler was a great basketball player. She deserved to be Player of the Year. She's a great player. But Mia Hamm, the past 2 weeks, averaging 25 points, 10 rebounds, and 9 assists per game. I mean, and she's a senior, but nobody. I've heard some coaches say, "Oh, yeah, man, if we just could have waited a little longer, maybe I could have thought about that a little more." And that's what gets what gets everything going here, because you're seeing when you're voting for KBA Player of the Year, you have to vote for a senior, and because that's your Mr. Basketball or Miss Basketball candidate in your region. So I mean, that's. And you look at the names up from regions 11 to 1. Some of the greatest players that seniors playing, but how many of these teams are going to be in Rupp Arena? Very few of them. Some of them's going to be there, some are not. I've come to the conclusion that George Rogers Clark, if they don't have any major injuries, are going to be the hardest out in the Sweet 16's history of the tournament, because they're
unfortunately the winner of the 14th region plays them.
I know. I talked with John Noble. Me and John said, "Well, John, if Prairie wins the region, I guess you guys get a trip to Lexington." He goes, "Oh yeah, a trip to Lexington, sitting there's number 1 and number 5 of the nation, George Rogers Clark. Oh, that'll be a fun game."
And a step further of that too, if everything does play out like that, and George Rogers Clark goes through there and gets through 14th, 13th, and 15th, the winner of that region then plays them. So I mean, it's just
it's a no-win situation. It's when I saw the bracket drawn out, I'm thinking all the mountain teams are in the same bracket, but smack in the dead middle of the 3 mountain teams is the number 1 team in the state and the number I think they're like 15th in the nation now. I mean, Josh Cook has been on this show, and I like Josh. Josh is the mountain boy. He'll always be a mountain boy to me. This is some of the best coaching I've ever seen from him in my life. But he's got some of the best talent I have ever witnessed. He's got 2 of the best. He's got 2 point guards that can play for any team in any region.
Yeah, their only loss in the season, I think, came to a school out in South Carolina, right?
Yep, they lost in a tournament out in South Carolina.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's what I thought. So,
and I will say this: if you've never had an opportunity to go down to George Rogers Clark and their new facilities, you need to go make an appearance. That is, it's one of the sweetest places I've ever. State of the art. It's beautiful. They play the volleyball tournament there one year. The state volleyball tournament there at the new arena there at George Rogers Clark. So
where is that school at?
Winchester.
It's in Winchester.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to say they're in a whole much more. I want to save a lot for a Saturday night because I'm doing my tournament. First of all, I need to know. I know you can be here. Can Courtney be here too? Because what our tournament edition is going to feed off of. I've got one dude. I got Wes Dixon's going to do 13th. He's going to be on 8:10. Nathan Little's going to do the 14th at 8:30. I got Daryl's going to come on at 9 and do the 15th. That I would like for you and Courtney both to come in and clean up everything that went on Saturday morning, the draws, what you talked about, who you talked to, and then we'll get some picks going on as we get ready for the region. So
I'll talk with her and see. The one problem with that being Saturday is we got sports overtime. So
yeah.
Tommy would know that's not a late evening. Yeah.
Well, I know one of you will be here, but it'd be nice to get you both there because
I think one of us should. I mean, I don't at the moment plan on having both of us work that day because we have no high school games that day. We only have the draws, and we have UK on the road. So there's really no reason for both of us to be there all day. But I'll talk with you in the group chat we have.
Yeah, you group chat me and we'll do one. One other thing, I was going two things on Lesky football, and I'll let you go. Alan Hatcher, the new head coach. Not Alan Hatcher. Alan Harris, new head coach at Pineville. What do you think with the hire?
I think it's an interesting hire. I mean, he used to be at Lynn Camp. He was the head man at Lynn Camp, right? And he Bell County. He had a good year with Bell County as an assistant. I think that's a good, reasonable hire. Jason Chappell left big shoes to fill. I know he wasn't there very long, but I think that's an interestingly good hire. I can't wait to see how that plays out.
And and the RPI. See you later, pal. You're out the door. What about going back to the old format of the playoffs? I know you've not been a part of that yet, but you're going to love it. But what's your thoughts on going back to the old format?
I like that. I can't wait to see how that works out. I'm really excited to see what that creates in terms of matchups and how we get a state.
You ask Tommy. You're going to see some great matchups. I mean, some matchups that you wouldn't see. Like, for instance, if I chose the class, I used this example earlier. The Pikeville district, Pikeville being a 1, they would play the 4 over there. Well, that would be Lynn Camp this past year. The 2 would have been Hazard. Hazard would have had to play the 3, which would have been Harlan. Harlan would have traveled to Hazard. You would have had Sayer, who was the 3, traveling to the 2, which was Pineville. That'd have been a good ball game to watch with the Pennington kid at quarterback and that running back they had. And then Pikeville, of course, Phelps would have played Pikeville. I mean, those are the matchups you would see, but you don't get. And then you play for your district championship during the regular season now. And that makes your games in the regular season mean more.
Well, and we kind of hit on it when we were talking about this back in October about that Pikeville Hazard game. They were both leaving some in the tank. They were both kind of leaving some stuff on the shelf because they didn't want to give it up, for when they played again in November. So, I'm excited to see what this brings because now
you'll like it. Me and Tommy has seen it. We like that's when football was good. Now, because you won't have to turn around 2 weeks later and play Hazard and Pike will play 2 weeks later after they've done played 2 weeks earlier. No one was, they wouldn't meet to if Pikeville and Hazard can get out of there, they both wouldn't meet to the regional finals. And then of course, Region 4 plays Region 3 in the state semifinals. So the Beechwood class would play the winner of I'm using Beechwood 2A. Beechwood would play, Region 4, which would come out of there would be Breath at Millsboro. But you know what I'm saying? It's going to be a lot different, and you're going to love it. And I just want to sit what you, Courtney, thought about that because it's something new that you guys get to see. Me and Tommy's been part of it. But.
For me, being from West Virginia, I mean, even the way you guys had it was still better than the way we had it because they don't do it like that in West Virginia. West Virginia, they just take the top 16 where they're from, be damned. It's so if you're from this part of West Virginia, is the 16th seed and the 1 seed's out here, it doesn't matter. You have to go all the way over there to play your game. That's like a 5-hour drive.
That's what Tommy was mentioning about traveling. It's going to cut down on travel a lot too when you start playing these playoff games when you play the cross district. So that
was the tough part for some of those smaller schools. I mean, heck, you'd make it out where the RPI would get in. I think it was top 16. Where it'd go in there, and you had a 5-hour-long drive or something
Yeah.
like that. And a lot of these schools, especially when the COVID restrictions came in and you had to take, 5 buses or so, for these schools like Middlesboro or Williamsburg and stuff like that. It got ridiculous. I told CJ when we first started and he brought it up, it was one of those things that if you showed me on paper, you could sell me on it.
Uh-huh.
I could see where the thought was.
Uh-huh.
But then we just kind of got into it and it got into play and it just got to be too much. And I think the pandemic also really hurt it too, because John, another thing I told CJ earlier is what we saw last year was big games that we knew were going to have an impact on the RPI all of a sudden started getting canceled and disappearing. And then all of a sudden somebody else, came in and there was new schedules there. So again, was that for RPI or, I'm not here to say anything about that, but it opens up that door where you can start to get a little more gamesmanship going on and stuff like that for that. And at the end of the day, this is high school sports. It doesn't need to be that. So I'm glad that it's kind of out there. So now it is a little bit more set in stone, a little more traditional, and a little bit more already spelled out for you. So there isn't any of those moving parts and there's not any of those gray areas.
Yeah, I'm excited for that. I mean, I remember, I did not like games getting canceled. First of all, it sucked because I'd have to redo my entire sports overtime. To have a game not get made up because they didn't want to make it up because the RPI would have been thrown out of whack or something.
Yeah, it would have bothered them. Would have took a number out.
And John, I'm not taking anything away from you last year, but I'm sure you probably saw it in West Virginia the year before. But that first year with the pandemic, CJ, I mean, you can attest to it. It was even worse. I mean, there were games. Willie and I would be on the phone at 4:30, 5 o'clock on a Friday night, still not knowing who was playing. I mean, because it was changing to the minute. So last year, I mean, you still had a lot of moving parts and stuff, but it seemed like it was settled down there just a little bit. But no, that first year,
I remember one time. Didn't you start to a game that you got halfway there? You was in the parking lot and it had been canceled.
Normal, yeah. I mean, numerous times that happened.
In West Virginia,
it was crazy.
In West Virginia, it was stupider. It was they had this color-coded map, and it was a map of severity of COVID cases. And it was like, green you could play, yellow you could play, gold you could play only a team from your own county, orange you couldn't, red you couldn't. And basically they would release the map on Sunday. So and it didn't even matter if there were cases within your program. So if it was just however many were in your county, so you would get a bunch of games canceled. There was one county in West Virginia that didn't have their first game until like October 10th, and it got so bad up there until like late November. It got so bad that, by the time teams started getting eliminated and they still had COVID issues, they didn't even make it to the championship game because there was one team that was in a red county and another team that was in a green county. So the state, the West Virginia version of the KHSAA was like, all right, you're the 3A champ, you're the 2A champ, you're the 1A champ. Congratulations. And that's how it ended in 2020.
No, I can't handle that. No. Yeah. I'd have died. I'd had a stroke. Yeah. All right. Okay. So we need to let everybody know Saturday, the big day. Everybody's drawing. Well, the 14th girls draw Wednesday. Everybody else draws on Saturday. The 15th at the Appalachian Wireless Arena, Corbin Arena for Saturday for the boys and girls, the 13th, and the 14th boys at Breathitt County. Breathitt County High School will be 10 a.m. on Saturday. I think the 13th is going to do theirs at 11 and 1, I believe. And the 15th, I haven't heard a time, but hopefully we'll have more impact. We'll have all the brackets. We'll have everything here next Saturday night, and we're going to break them down piece by piece, bit by bit. And we'll be here to get you ready as the tournament begins on Sunday. For some regions, I know the 14th girls play all their first round on Saturday. So, John, excellent.
Sorry, CJ. I do want to hit on one thing real quick. We will have full coverage of the districts this week, obviously.
Yeah.
We're still going to have Courtney go up to the LSU game on Wednesday, so we'll have
Okay.
coverage of that. And then we still do not have a game of the week planned, but as soon as we have that set up, I'm trying to get Neil to go to Paintsville Johnson Central. That's the one I'm saying. You got to do this game, Neil. You got to do it. You got to do it.
Yeah, that would definitely be the game. That definitely would that one or Bell Harlan County. That would be the 1 2.
Those are my top 2 suggestions. I said either go to Paintsville Johnson Central or do the 52nd district as a double header.
Yeah.
And then on Friday, it's not an official. We don't know for sure. I think we're looking at Perry Central Hazard if that happens.
Yeah.
In the 54th district. So that's what we're looking at the moment. But as soon as we know what the game of the week is, I'll make sure that's out there. So
I've got people already in the chat box saying they want to see the Johnson Central Paintsville game. So
trust me, so do I.
Where is that game at?
Is that Johnson
Where's
Central?
the game at?
At Johnson
Johnson Central. It's Tuesday at 7:30.
Yep.
So.
No, that's always a good game. And again, they could play it in the middle of a cornfield and it would still be just fine. But my favorite is when they play at Paintsville for region or district. Or well, I guess they never play region there, but for district, it's so small, it crammed in, you can't move.
Oh my God! I went to the regular season one, and I was like, I was on the baseline, and the cheerleaders were over here, and the other cheerleader. I was like,
yeah.
I was trying to take the game, and oh man, it was. And then you got all. There's the thing that I love about that too is you got all the fans on one side. It's like this one big, like almost like amphitheater kind of thing. And it's just, oh man, I love shooting games.
And even standing on the baseline too, your back can be completely up on the wall and your toes are still right there on the line. I mean, there's probably, it's longer than that, but it feels like there's only 1.5 feet of baseline room there.
Oh, my boom mic accidentally hit one of the players while he was checking in the ball. It's painful.
Well, John, you have a good week. I will see you Saturday. And you be careful wherever you go, and we'll get it done on Saturday.
All right. Keep your stick on the ice, guys. Tommy, good to see you.
Good to see you.
See you, John. Mr. John Lowe, sports director at WYMT, as we get set to bring this show to an end. What a great show we've had. Tremendous guests. Tommy's been spot on everything as usual. I don't expect nothing to differ from him. I'll let him give his final comments in just a moment. I want to thank my guests tonight, Adam Webb, Travis Smith, Coach Hibbard, Coach Anthony Hibbard, and John for being with us. People that left comments and tried to call. I know Ryan tried to call me. Ryan, I do apologize. I did not hear the ringer. The ringer did not ring, so I'm going to have to keep a closer eye on that. Again, I'm reminding you, I will be back with you Saturday night with a special edition of the CJ Harrod Show because Sunday, I'll be at Perry Central all day because of the girls' 14th region tournament beginning there at the John C. Combs Arena. My co-host is going to be Winston Lee. I'm glad Tommy mentioned Winston because Winston's actually going to be on the tournament show with me. No better one to have on there to break down stuff with me. And as I said, my guests are going to be Les Dixon from the 13th region. He's going to help us break down the 13th girls and boys. Nathan Little is going to be with me to break down the 14th girls and boys. Daryl McCoy from the DD Sports Network. He's going to be with me to help break down the 15th region. And then, of course, John will be back with me to help break down everything that we talked about during the show at the end with him. I want to remind everybody, too, I do have a new Facebook page for the show. It is the CJ Howard Show. Go in the search bar, put the CJ Howard Show in there. Go over and like that page. And also I'd like for you to share it with everybody else, other fans of the show, so they can like it and be a part of it. I know this past week we get a lot of new people liking the show, want to be a part of it. That's tremendous. Also, I want to remind everybody I got a YouTube channel. Just put CJ Howard in the search bar. Go subscribe to that channel for me. Help me out there. That would be a lot of help. Also. Okay, Tommy, go ahead and give us your final thoughts and we'll get out of here.
Final thoughts. I'll try to keep them short. I think that's always the worst thing when I am your co-host. I feel like my final thoughts go like an extra 20 minutes. So I'll try to keep them a little bit shorter for you tonight.
You go, big guy. You know me. I'm ready.
No, I mean, I think that it's always an exciting time of the year here when you, I mean, bittersweet, I guess, closing the end of the regular season. You see it starting to come to an end. But it's also the most exciting part, too, where everything does get going. And as we kind of talked about with a couple of different guests tonight, it just seems like the window between teams in districts and regions now have just kept closing and closing and closing. And it's something that has been done, over the past 5 years or so. But I think this is the closest that I've seen a field in multiple different regions, really since I've been in Eastern Kentucky and been following or keeping an eye out on them. Fun for both, exciting times, something to look forward to on both sides, boys and girls. Girls, I mean, there's some big powerhouses there for EKY that could make a big run. We talked about Pikeville, North Laurel still.
Mm-hmm.
So, two powerhouses that could really go up there and do something. And again, even, some of the teams that can still do things. We talked about Shelby Valley. They got beat by Pikeville the first game by 7. Then it was double digits the second, that first one there, and when they played for the All-A. And then they played a couple of games later, and I think it was 14. Yeah. And then however much it was, like 50 something or 66-33, I think the last time they just played. So something like that. But again, with Cassidy Rowe and Ellswick and all of their other players there, and Coach Rowe on the sidelines too, it's hard to beat a team 4 times. It's hard to beat a team twice. Hard to beat a team 3 times, 4 times, and they could even play 5. There's a possibility that Pikeville and Shelbyville can play girls, or Shelby County, excuse me. Sorry, Shelbyville's back home. Shelby County and Pikeville could play 5 times.
Shelby Valley.
See, Shelby Valley. My bad. CJ, thanks for keep having me on the show, even though I'm gone and I still don't even know what I'm talking about half the time. I appreciate you still having faith in me to come on here and talk about Eastern Kentucky sports.
I would bring you back anytime. You're just a joy to have on the show. I love having you on here.
But yeah, I mean, Shelby Valley could easily go up and upset Pikeville there, and if they do, I mean, they can still make a run too. And there's plenty of other teams on that side too. But boys and girls basketball should be fun times there. We talked about Kentucky basketball and kind of the NCAA here. Another thing where it seems like that one's kind of wide open. I think judging by everything and kind of the way that everything's been playing out, I think this is the best team that Kentucky's had at this part of the season in 4 or 5 years. I think they're really compatible to that team that lost to Auburn. Was it in the Elite Eight?
Yeah.
So right there, I think that this team's kind of compatible to that. You had PJ Washington there who kind of took over down the stretch. I think there's a couple of Wildcats that could definitely fill that role on this year's team. They have. But again, the key to that is being healthy. Yeah. And I think that, again, that team that lost to Auburn there in the Elite Eight, we had a couple of injuries down the line with PJ. And he was able to get healthy there at the end and kind of make that run. So, but no, I think they're in a good spot. But the crazy thing about it too is, I mean, they could lose to Arkansas at the end of the year here in the regular season. That could move them to a 3 spot. And then we've seen what the SEC tournament's all about. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's nuts.
And this year it's in Tampa, Florida for the first time. So it's been a while since it's been there. So it'll be
interesting to see what kind of turnout BBN has out there. I mean, I know that they're spread everywhere. One of my favorite things when I would go to a Kentucky game was during one of the TV timeouts, how they had the Twitter check-in stuff up on the board. And they had kind of a map that showed like everybody from BBN, like where they were at and tuned in and making comments about the game, and just to see them all over the map, not just through the country, mm-hmm. but in other countries as well, was pretty tremendous and just gives you a big scope on, how big BBN is, but you don't really realize it until you actually see it. So that's pretty cool. So anywhere that tournament's at, Kentucky's going to have a good following, as well as some other teams too. You know, moving down here to Knoxville, it kind of piqued my interest just how well the SEC is represented in this area too. You know, and just in my neighborhood alone, I've seen flags for Arkansas, Alabama, Mississippi State, and did I say South Carolina. So and on top of the Tennessee flags too, and there's a lot of Kentucky fans down here still too. So you know, even though it's SEC country, I mean there's teams all over the place around. So all the teams in the conference are well represented. But yeah, should be fun. Like I said, bittersweet as it starts to come to an end, but the exciting time because we know what's right around the corner.
Yeah, Tommy, thank you so much. I love having you, and I will be knocking on your door again pretty soon. I want to thank everybody that was a guest. I want to thank all our callers. I want to thank all our people that left messages. Again, this is CJ Howard, rounding third and heading for home. Good night, everybody, and we'll see you Saturday night for a special tournament edition of the CJ Howard Show. Good night, everybody.